Hello, everyone. This is ALBERTA, the BitcoinMeister, the DisruptMeister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin show. Today is June the 17th, early in the morning, 2018. Strong hand. Conviction. All right, we had an extra show yesterday. Some of you saw that by the pool. This show should have been a little bit toward last night some more, but we're having a special one this morning, so we're going to jump right into it. Remember to have that conviction, people. Don't give up in whatever you believe in, and that's who wins the day. Conviction always wins the day. So let's talk about the war on competency. Again, this is the Beyond Bitcoin show, so we're going to talk about other subject matters beyond Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I know we're going to talk about health in a second, so just want to, if anyone's new to this. So there is a war on competency in the general population. Now, when you opt into the Bitcoin overlay, we treasure competency here. But within the world of the 80% dominated world, all disparity equals discrimination, it seems like. People try to say, disparity in outcome, someone must be discriminated against. And so if a certain group of people succeed in a certain field, then another group of people is being discriminated against. And thus discrimination by some mysterious force, or it's not taking personal responsibility is the bottom line here. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. The prevalent mainstream culture in the war on competency is excuse making and scapegoating, just trying to blame others for your group's lack of accomplishment in a specific field. What you have to do is take personal responsibility of your destiny. If you're in a group that is supposedly being discriminated against in whatever field, instead of taking a collective mentality and saying your group is being kept down, you as an individual need to say, hey, I'm going to be successful. Sure, many around me are doing horrible. They're making up, they're using excuses. They're saying it's racism, it's anti this, it's anti that. But I, as an individual, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to pick a field where I know I'm going to study. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to have commitment and conviction. And so it's not, or you can do nothing and complain and be part of this collective that just complains and complains about your overall group and how you're being held down by the man. So, I mean, we can look back to the 1950s when Jewish people like me, they weren't allowed into certain country clubs, or they weren't allowed into certain businesses. So they made their own businesses up. They weren't allowed to be a doctor at Johns Hopkins, only let in a certain amount of doctors. They went to another school. Or maybe they didn't become a doctor. Maybe they had to give that dream up and they owned a store. They became the dentist, or who knows? Now with I mentioned we weren't let into certain country clubs. Then we made our own country clubs. Now eventually, again, I don't agree with if people didn't want us in their country clubs, you shouldn't force them to let us in their country clubs. So eventually, there was all sorts of people were forced to associate with people they did not want to associate with. And I feel personally, if you don't want to associate with Jewish people like me, you don't have to associate with you. That's great. We'll just do it on our own. But to my point, again, if you were an individual and you didn't like that, hey, they're not letting me into their country club because I'm Jewish, we're going to start our own country club. And actually, that happened a lot in the Baltimore area. There were swimming clubs and such. And eventually, I was not around during the old days, but I did go to there was something called Silver Birch. Silver Birch was was a great swim. We'd go swimming at the pool and everything. And Silver Birch, I didn't know as a youth, but it was 100% Jewish. It is because it originated way back in the day when they didn't let us into those clubs. And it was a lovely experience. And yeah, it's kind of sad that once people were forced to integrate us in, Over time, silver birch to disappear. Anyway, but memories of the old. There's a little personal story there that went off. Hey, pound that like button if you like Adam's personal stories. But again, the thing is to take personal responsibility and never don't force other people to accept you, your group. Because I mean, just you're going to take control of your own destiny. All right, and be something awesome. Where do we go here? Oh yeah. I'm going to speak in Philadelphia at CryptoCoinCon.com, August 18th. I'll be promoting that a lot. Ken Bozak will also be speaking there. CryptoCoinCon.com. It is listed below. Okay, there's an amazing lack of economic understanding when I think Ben Shapiro brought this up. People are complaining about, or it was maybe a woman on CNN mentioned this. Complaining that why aren't women athletes paid as much as men athletes? And, they should try to even the playing field. It's quite. People watch the male athletes. They pay a lot more money to watch male leagues and males play. I mean, than females. NBA to WNBA. Think about it. Think about the amount. So there's just not as much money to pay the women. Okay. They're not getting the advertising. It's a lack of economic understanding. It's just like they think the money just drops from the air and then you distribute it between the men and the women. No, it's not that simple. And again, you can sit there and complain and try to force people to redistribute their money for sports watching, or you can take personal responsibility, actually go out there, pay money to watch the women, support the women. If you think women's sports are great, go out there, pay money to watch the women. And if you want to pay them more, give them more money. Give them, say, you know what? I paid $20 for this ticket. I think I should have paid $50. I'll give them $50. Make up clubs around women's sports. Try to get into the women's sports promotional field. You can be a marketer. But anyway, most people are just going to complain and say women aren't paid as much as men in sports. Okay. So, I mean, there's a reason for it. Because you'd rather go see the men's sports. Many more people, let's face it, men like to watch sports more than women. If you can't admit there's differences between sexes, what they like to do, then yeah, you're part of the mainstream society. Enjoy your collectivism. Seriously, enjoy your collectivism. Do what you got to do. Don't force me to pay you to complain. All right, so what do we have? Here's a great video from MGTOW Money. 10 action steps to your FU money. Let me tell you, this video, linked to below, of course. Always check out the links below. You can watch This Week in Bitcoin, the special show I did yesterday, all my shows. But anyway, MGTOW Money, he sounds like Adam Meister, some of the things that he's saying there, some of his advice. So here's another example of why you do not want to be part of this 80% mindless tyranny of mainstream society, why you want to opt into the Bitcoin overlay, which I really still have to do a complete show on what the Bitcoin overlay is and my theory around it. But anyway, there's only so much time during the day. But here is the headline. Poll. #1 issue for Maryland and again, I am not into politics at all. There's a reason you shouldn't be into politics. Poll. #1 issue for Maryland Democrats is removing Donald Trump from office. And there's a link to the Baltimore Sun article. 46% of Maryland Democrats say that the most important issue for them in the primary election is removing Donald Trump from office, even though that is beyond the power of Maryland's governor. The other top issues for Democrats were public education, 26%, the economy, 10%, and public safety, 8%. The state of Maryland has an election in a week or so, 2 weeks, whatever it is. They're electing the next governor of Maryland. That's a state in the United States. It's where I'm from. All right. It has the governor of Maryland could do nothing to remove the president of the United States. Has nothing to do with it. Okay. Yet the number one issue in the election for most Maryland Democrats is removing Donald Trump from office. So the number one issue in this election for governor has nothing to do with the election for governor. And only 10% of the people care about the economy, which the governor does have some. Unfortunately, the governor has some say over the Maryland economy because the economies in the United States are so state-oriented that the governors do have say over the economy, which is a very unfortunate thing. But look how the 80%ers of the world just mindlessly watch TV and follow the talking points of their party to a point where they're not thinking at all, and they don't even know what the real issues are in the elections. Because removing Donald Trump from office, I mean, you could be passionate about that. I don't give a darn. But it's not it has nothing to do with electing the governor of Maryland. He cannot do a thing to remove Donald Trump from office or any president from office. So that is an amazing statistic. And it shows you don't want to waste a second on politics. You don't want to be involved with voters. That democracy is tyranny with a suit on. I mean, mob rule with a suit on. Excuse me, mob rule with a suit on. Tyranny of the majority. It's unbelievable. So you don't. I've already wasted too much time on it. But for me, it's an 80%, 20% point that I'd like to point out. Obviously, I'd be willing to bet that the 46% of Maryland Democrats who say the most important issue for them is removing Donald Trump from office have nothing to do with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Pound that like button, people. All right, so Jonah Goldberg was on the Ben Shapiro show last Sunday. I linked to it below. Great guest. I've really never listened to the dude before. And he talks about self-discipline versus self-expression, and how his version, what he defines romanticism as, has maybe started the decline of Western society or gotten us into this position where everybody's a virtue signaler. But I want to go into self-discipline versus self-expression, because I'm a person that talks about long-term thinking, not being impulsive. And that is self-discipline right there. You got to have self-discipline. You can't be 100% self-expression. But at the same time, it is important to be able to express yourself and be yourself, and not let a government, not let an entity define who you are. But again, you can't be just some wild man on the street that's just taking off your clothes, snorting everything off the ground, for the sake of being an artist, of like, I'm expressing myself here by interfering with other people, by destruction. I'm going to break into your house. That's my way of no. So, or I'm blowing my whole wad of money here and I'm blaming you. No, there's got to be some type of self-discipline, some type of personal responsibility in your self-expression. So there's a balance between the two, but I think there's two extreme, and again, I guess there's probably too much self-discipline too, where you're just like, I can't be around any disease. I'm locking myself in a room forever. There's a point where self-discipline becomes paralysis, I guess. So there's a balance. You gotta, for me, lean toward, I don't know what you're going to lean toward, but just don't be impulsive. Whatever allows you not to be impulsive and not to make insane financial mistakes. Take it slow. All right, people, somebody asked recently, what type of shoes do I wear when I run? Actually, let me show you. I wasn't actually planning on showing them, but these are ASIC. So people think I'm cheap, and I do like to save money, obviously. I save, I've never spent a Bitcoin. I live a frugal lifestyle. I don't eat out. But here is my shoe. It's an ASICS Gel Nimbus. Okay. I have worn this type of shoe over and over again I mean, I think for 10 years, 50, I don't even know. As long as I've been running, okay? Well, no, not as, it's not as I did wear Nikes when I was real young, but these are the best. They cost the most. They do cost the most. They are ASIC's best. New ones can cost over $150 or $200. I get mine on eBay. So I get the older models, and they're new. They're not used. Don't buy used shoes. These ones are really worn down. When I get back to Baltimore, there's a new pair waiting for me there. So I ordered some from eBay. So you can get some discounts on eBay. But again, if you're going to be a runner, you do not want to mess your feet up. You do not want to mess your knees up because it can be hard on your knees, and it's harder on certain people's bodies than others. So you want the best shoes. It's harder on women's bodies too sometimes. I've known women that have had to retire because they've run too much. Beautiful women, but nonetheless, they've had to. I think of a friend of mine from college. She ran a marathon. Then afterwards, she decided not to run again. A beautiful woman. She's very thin. And I tried, but I failed in attaining her. I wasted some time on that, but we became friends and everything. Again, do not value your wealth in women. Do not value your wealth in women. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. But yeah, so here, ASICS Gel Nimbus. That's Adam's recommendation for the day. Seriously, sometimes you can't cheap out on shoes. Although you can get, again, if you use eBay, you can get a discount. And yeah, I knew a guy who owned a shoe store who. He no longer owns a running shoe store. The guy who owned the Falls Road running store, I think some of you guys know him, Jim Adams. If you're from Baltimore watching this, he was not a fan of. He was being taxed for selling shoes, but when you're online, you're not being taxed, and it was putting him out of business. And he actually gave up the business. Falls Road running store is still there, so he was no fan of buying your shoes online because of tax purpose, because of the tax system that we have. But again, as a consumer, yeah, we're going toward buying shoes online, like totally, because people know what shoes fit them. They don't have to go to the shoe store anymore. So, but yeah, shout out the Falls Road Running Store. Jim Adams, he created something awesome back in the day, and it was a great service to the community. I guess it still is, off of Falls Road. If you ever watched that Barry Levinson movie, I forgot which one it was now. He talks about how Falls Road in the 50s was the dividing line between the Jewish area and the non-Jewish area, the Gentile area, which I guess you could kind of see. Well, if you know the history, I guess it was. There were a lot of dividing lines in Baltimore. I'm talking about Baltimore for the. Anyway, okay, what movie was that? I like that. Avalon, I think. Was it Avalon? Yeah, the Barry Levinson has some good movies because they're about Baltimore. They're about Jewish people and stuff. And again, in that Barry Levinson movie, I think it was Avalon, they're protesting in front of the Gentile country club to let the Jews in. And there's a sign that says, "No Jews, blacks, or dogs." And whatever, they had their sign, and I mean, it wasn't a nice sign, but they shouldn't have had to be forced to let us in there and stuff. The Gentiles should have kept there. They had nice. I've been to some of these Gentile country clubs now that they've integrated. Yeah, I can see why they didn't want us there. We're kind of loud. Pound that line. You got to be able to joke about it and stuff. Yeah. All right. So let's. Again, if they don't want us, they don't have. I mean, why force ourselves upon? I'm not going to name, but yeah, I got to tell you all that the supposedly upper class. I know some upper crust white Gentile types from Baltimore. They're always nice to me. I don't care if they talk behind my back and say that Jew or whatever. I mean, they're really nice to me. Again, what you do in your own house is that's your personal business. I mean, I'm not into like forcing people to think a certain way. It's amazing. Okay, so we've lost track here. Talking about Barry Levinson. All right, here in Florida. Oh God. Yeah, it is just funny, going to these different country clubs. I mean, I guess Silver Birch, it was kind of louder than it was at these Gentile ones. Oh God, we talk and talk. So there's here in Florida. I see this fruit, mangoes growing on the trees, and little dates, and they're edible. I mean, look at this. So when you're try the street food. I say, I haven't gotten sick yet. I ate some mangoes. It's amazing. You can get free food. It's falling from the trees here in Florida. The dates were really small, but they tasted like regular dates. They were good. They were good. All right. So there's a tip. When you're in some warm location, try to get food from the. Now you can't get that much food from. Even when I was in Namibia, I picked mulberries in Windhoek, Namibia in 2016. Okay, it's amazing the free food you can find. And again, Windhoek, Namibia, that's not a wealthy place. Again, I recommend you going to Windhoek, Namibia. It is an interesting. They speak some of the white people that have lived there for a very long time. They speak German still because the Germans colonized. I guess it was called Southwest Africa back then, and then South Africa. Namibia was a colony of South Africa. It was called Southwest Africa, right? I don't want to mess up the name of this. But anyway, that's enough Namibia talk. I didn't find any Bitcoin people in Namibia, although I met a Namibian at the last South African conference when I was in Johannesburg with Jason. Jason is in Pretoria watching this right now. I saw him in the chat beforehand. But there was a guy from Namibia, and then we talked over email. Then we lost track of each other. Come on, Namibians, wake up to Bitcoin. You need it also. This show is really getting out of control, isn't it? All right, that's why it's beyond Bitcoin. No nobility in poverty, people. There is no nobility in poverty. You have to have that attitude, or else you're going to do nothing. There's no, again, you got to be in motion. There's no nobility in not being in motion and just complaining and being a troublemaker. Just keep that in your mind. No nobility in poverty, because it'll get you in the right mindset. And here's an article from Bloomberg. Millionaires now control half of the world's personal wealth. So if you think there's nobility in poverty, you're going to say, that's unfair. That's unfair. We have to change things. But if you understand that there is no nobility in poverty, you're going to aim to be one of those millionaires. And that's what I encourage people to do. Millionaires now control half of the world's personal wealth. How do I become a millionaire? How do I help become part of this small group of people that control half the personal wealth of the world? There you go. Get into Bitcoin. And just be in motion, people. So here, I forgot who said this now. This was on, I think, Ben Shapiro's show. Somebody said it. Politics are being lifestyled now. Politics, it's like a fashion choice. Your politics is your fashion. In the old days, it was people were complaining about lifestyle. Your lifestyle was being politicized, but now politics are being lifestyled. I like that, and it's a fashion choice now. You know, oh look, I'm a anti-Trumper. Ha ha ha! Look how cool I am. I'm into this group. This is part of my lifestyle. Yeah, I'm wasting so much time on this. Don't waste any time on that stuff, people. Be productive. All right. So for some reason, I was looking at FoxNews.com. Occasionally, they have some headlines that make me think. And I'm not even linking to this article. It was an article about the Satmar, mostly the Satmar Hasidic sect in New York State and New Jersey. Now, they titled the article, they used the word Hasid to describe the group of Jewish people. And indeed, the Satmar are a type of Hasidic group. But if you say the Hasids are doing this, that, and the other in New York, you're generalizing about it. There are many different types of Hasidic groups. Satmar, I am no fan of Satmar. Satmar are anti-Zionist. They should be ashamed of themselves for that. It's a disgrace the way they carry themselves. The Satmar in Williamsburg, in Brooklyn, how they carry on. They should all move to Israel is what they should do. They shouldn't be living in New York, living off of the welfare state. And so this is what the article was about Satmar and probably some other Satmar-related Hasidic groups living off of the welfare state in New York and New Jersey They are a politicized group. Corrupt politicians go to them and give them more welfare, so they all vote for them because they all have 10 kids. But to say it's Chassids, to generalize Hasidic people in this way is a disgrace, because the Chabad Hasidic people are not welfare hounds, okay? The Chabad Hasidic people support the land of Israel, so love the Jewish people, all Jews. The Chabad are the greatest Jewish people on this planet right now, I would say, are some of the greatest Jewish people on this planet. If you're Jewish, they reach out. They're in every city, and they try to be in every city in the world, so that if you're a Jewish person, visiting like a city in India, you can go hang out with your Chabad Hasidic person. They're very nice. Again, so these articles, and again, I'm not linking it. So you got to be careful when you read some of these mainstream articles that are talking about Chassid this, Chassid this. There are many different types of Hasidic people. Satmar is if you live in New York and New Jersey, you see these guys with the black hats, and they're not talking to you. They're in their own little world. They have 10 kids. And again, they can do what they want to do, but when they're living off of the state, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that they hate on their own people in a very public manner. And just conventions against Israel. I mean, the most ridiculous things you've ever seen in your life. That the Satmar do. So, and I've had friends say, like, oh, look at all the Chassids in Williamsburg. No, those are Satmar. Call them Satmar. They are Satmar. That is what they are. They are Satmar. They got a long history, and they don't reach out to me. I mean, they don't talk. They speak freaking Yiddish still. They speak a gutter, and it is a gutter language now. There's no reason for Jewish people to speak Yiddish when they're not being oppressed in freaking Eastern Europe in Europe anymore. Okay, it's a gutter German language. It's a complete whatever it is. We don't need to speak German anymore. Okay, some gutter version of German. We speak the language of the country we're in, which is English, or you speak Hebrew. That's the language of the Jews. Okay. Okay, so I've gone on about this, but my point is for all you Gentiles out there, if you're reading these articles about Chassids and you're seeing these crazy YouTube videos with Chassids in them, they're Satmar, okay? And they don't even like their own people. It's a disgrace when a Jew does not like the land of Israel and does not like his own Jew. Because I mean, on a basic level, I like this. I mean, I'm sure they're good Satmar people. I think it's their politics. It is disgraceful what they instill in their own people, because they have 10 kids and they get them on welfare in New Jersey and New York, and then they hate on Israel. Move to freaking Israel. You should be kicked out of this country and go to Israel. That is what you should do. I think that's great. I should be kicked out of the United States. Send me to Israel too, for God's sake. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. And I got to be careful saying things like that. And I'm going but no. I mean, no, I shouldn't say kicked out. Let's not get into that now. If you're going to kick out Satmar, then you're going to kick out me too. Yeah, that's true. But let's leave it at that. If you're going to kick out, I'm going, if you're kicking out the Jews, we're all Jews together. But Satmar should move to Israel. They should not be living off of New York and New Jersey. Live off of Israel, okay? We'll figure it out there. We'll figure out our problems there. All right, so what else do we have here? Again, my great host here in South Florida. It's been awesome. I actually hung out with Jason yesterday, who helped make the event possible in South Florida. Awesome dude. Showed me the beach, showed me around Delray Beach here. I was up in West Palm Beach the other day. I'll be in Puerto Rico in San Juan on the 20th. So again, This Week in Bitcoin, check out the archive. Saturday's show was a test show of mine. I'm practicing for something. It was about crypto dividends. Check that out yesterday. That delayed this show, obviously. Follow me on TechBalt and on Twitter. Steam it. Everyone get on Steam it if you've got content, because you can make cryptocurrency that way. I'm BitcoinMeister on there. Follow the intellectual Bitcoin elite that are on my This Week in Bitcoin show, that are on the World Crypto Network. Learn about, don't follow these mindless people out there. I mean, be able to differentiate between the pump and dumpers get rich quick people, and the intellectual Bitcoin elite. The intellectual Bitcoin elite are a diverse group of people. They're 20%ers. And if you can't handle being a 20%er, then I guess, yeah, you should stick with the 80%ers. Okay, what else? Oh, yeah, here we go. Sausalito's Summer Nights by Diesel. This is a song from the early 80s, I think. The first 15 seconds are just an amazing opening riff. I think I might have mentioned this on another show a long time ago. I linked to it below. And again, you can see all my old shows at disruptmeister.com. And again, TechBalt, TechBalt on Twitter. The sheer nature of numbers, people. Remember, there are going to be so many more 80%ers than 20%ers. So you are going to be told all the time that you can't, because 80%ers tell you that you can't. Just remember this. So you got to be strong. You can't give in. You can't give in to shame and embarrassment. They're going to tell you you suck, and this other mindless dribble. You got to be strong against them. Again, it's the nature of the numbers. 80%ers way outnumber 20%ers. Vocal 80%ers probably outnumber 20%ers also. So you got to have conviction in what you believe in and stick with not being impulsive and not fitting in. There is, again, shame is powerful. Shame is how they beat you. Have no shame. Have a strong hand. And again, assigning fault is not productive. To assign fault is not a productive endeavor. Don't waste time assigning fault to others. Just keep moving on. Again, don't say this group is keeping me down. Don't say this person has trapped me in this situation. Get out of the situation. Get out of the situation. Don't try to find the person. Don't assign fault. Don't assign blame. It's not productive. Just move on. I know it's hard to do sometimes, but you got to be as productive as efficient as possible. And I'll leave you with Ant Extra 300. He left this message a long time ago, but I love it still. Financial sovereignty gives you freedom of geography and association. So again, opt into the Bitcoin overlay. You're going to be able to associate with anyone you want to. You're going to be able to live and be wherever you want to and not have to worry about mainstream society's rules. I'm Adam Meister, BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the notes section below. I will see you later. Bye-bye.